So after I get that call, I get home. It takes me about 10 to 15 minutes to get home with all the traffic. It was about 5 o'clock, 5:30 when I got the call. So that's traffic hour on the streets and on the freeway. When I got home, my husband was carrying Vann, who was crying, not screaming. Surprisingly, he took it very well. Like, he was very strong. He wasn't screaming like I thought he would, like you would see in the movies. He was moaning in pain, and yes, he was saying it hurt, but he wasn't overly doing it, if you will, for lack of a better word. When I saw him, of course, as a mom, your heart drops. I asked what happened and how he broke it. So he was on the trampoline, and there was a boy, a young 13-year-old teenage boy, who decided it would be okay to allow himself to come onto our property and go jump on our trampoline. It was the neighbor's nephew, I believe. Nephew or the babysitter's son. It was one of them. And I guess my son says that he pulled a John Cena move on my son, thus breaking his arm. So we do the ride to the hospital. Couldn't even put my son in a car seat because he was in that much pain. We could not move his arm to get the seatbelt on. And that really bothered me because I'm a huge advocate for, safety first in the car, always seatbelts and car seats, but we couldn't do it. So I had to hold him, and my husband drove. When we got to the hospital, we went to the ER. It took him not as long as it normally does, and we've had a lot of ER visits in the past few months. This visit to the ER to get into the back was maybe about an hour, which is really fast. If you go to the ER, you know what I'm talking about. So we do that. They do the x-rays, and yes, my son had a broken elbow. He snapped it basically in half. So from there, I'm like, okay, what happens now? From this part on is when we waited a very long time. We had to get transferred to another hospital, which I'm familiar with because it's a hospital that I'll be having my child at. And that in itself took about a good 4 hours for them to get us from the hospital we were at, to get picked up in the ambulance, and then to get to the hospital. Now, when we got to the other hospital, the wait there in that waiting room was ridiculous. We waited about another 3 hours before they called us in. So I was just tired. I was irritated by this point. My son was asleep. They hadn't given him... No, you know what they did? They gave him a medication to take his pain away. So he had that. So he was pretty tired. And then finally, once we got transferred, and they finally got him into the hospital, into the room, which took, like I said, about 4 hours. From there... Sorry, I'm trying to think. This happened in October, and I'm just doing it now because I've been so busy. From there, the doctor came in, gave me a rundown again on what needs to happen, what they're going to do, how it's going to be surgically, it needs to be surgically fixed, pins, all that stuff. So he ended up needing surgery. The surgeon, put 3 pins in his elbow, My stomach twists just thinking about it because, ew, I don't do broken bones. So I'm glad my husband was there because I probably would have fainted. I don't do broken bones and I don't do open gashes very well. So then we are in the hospital all night long, all day until the next morning about 9 a.m., 10 a.m. And finally they come in and say, okay, we're going to get him ready and get him prepped for surgery. It took forever. Once they did that, it kind of moved along quickly from there. Signed all the paperwork, did whatever needed to be done by us. Again, the doctor came in, the nurses came in, and then the anesthesiologist. We spoke to all of them, all of us. They gave us the rundown on what's going to happen, how it's going to happen. Yeah. So after that was done, it was time to wheel him down into the room, the pre-surgical room. Once they wheeled him in there, that's where I said my goodbyes. I gave him a kiss. They sedated him in that room with me there, so that way I was there with him and he didn't get panicked. So that was nice. So I gave him my kisses, told him I loved him. Daddy did the same thing. Told him we'd see him when he woke up and he'd feel better. And that was that. Then we went down to the waiting room. The surgery only took about 35-40 minutes before we got the call that it was done. And what I liked is that throughout the surgery, there was a nurse who was texting us, letting us know how it's going, which was really, really nice. Kind of give you that peace of mind. Oh, yeah. From there, after we got the call that we can go into the room with our son, we went up to the recovery where we waited a good 3 hours for him to wake up on his own. The way they explained it is it's different from adults. Adults, they kind of wake you up, like after you have any type of surgery, they begin talking to you and waking you up to make sure that you're going to wake up. With kids, it's different. They let them slowly come out of it because I guess they tend to come out of it more scared and thrashing around. So we waited a long time. We're just staring at him. Any movement, any moans, we were like, is he waking up? And it did take him probably about 2.5 hours. And then once he woke up, he wasn't fully awake. So he kept coming in and out, in and out. And then finally, after that 3-hour mark, she was like, okay, we can start waking him up now. You guys can start touching his face and talking to him. So we did. And we woke him up again. And he was a little grouchy. He was crying. His arm was in some pain, as you can imagine. The nurse asked him questions, which he was able to answer all of them. And then when she asked him if he wanted ice cream, he said yes. So he had popsicles, which he enjoyed. And then after that, we were able to sign out, discharge, and go home. We did speak to the doctor who gave us the rundown on what to do, what not to do, for his arm. No bathing, no wetting the arm, obviously, because he was in a cast. So that was a trick. Even with wrapping it at home, it was still really hard not to get it wet. No jump, obviously no play of any kind. And then that was that. We were discharged and we went home. Once we were home, as you can imagine, he was in pain. It was itchy, it was irritating, he was crying. So they gave us Tylenol and ibuprofen. They don't give you painkillers for children. You know, I'm not all about giving them painkillers, but I think when a child breaks an arm or something, they should be given a little something to alleviate their pain, because I could imagine if that was me, I would want to be on a painkiller other than Tylenol. So we had him home, we were giving him all that. He slept basically the whole first day and a half, because he was still out of it from the anesthesia. Yeah. And then from there, it just went pretty smooth. He had to get used to having a cast on. We all had to get used to putting him in that car seat with the cast on, which was tricky. It was tricky. Sending him to school was scary, because kids fall at school. He can't have any play. Even now, he still can't have play, and it's been a couple months since it happened. It happened in October. We're now in December that I'm making this video. So he had to adjust to that, and from there we had, I'm sorry, my kids are yelling in the living room. I don't know if you can hear them. From there we went smoothly. Everything went good. We got used to it, got used to having it on. It was really itchy the first few days, so we called the doctor and told him it was itchy. We gave him Benadryl. Benadryl worked for him. Doesn't always work for everybody. And then come November, the first week of November, he had his first post-op, and the doctor said everything looked fine. They just had to rewrap it. And let me tell you, these casts are heavy, and then they add more to it when they rewrap it. My son couldn't even lift his arm that well. That's how heavy this cast was. He's so tiny, and it was crazy. And after that, back to normal again. Come another 3 weeks later, we're back in there. He's getting it removed. Now, we were excited to get it removed, and I personally don't like to throw my kids into something that they're not gonna know what's going on. So I do like to explain it to them and possibly show them videos. So I hopped online and looked at a few videos of how they remove pins, and we watched a couple of them together, okay? And he did start crying. He got a little bit scared, but I was like, look, the little girl, she's fine, nothing's wrong. The ones that we watched, they were okay, no crying, nothing. Come to my son's appointment. The first, okay, so first they removed the cast. That was fine and dandy. He enjoyed it. He loved watching them saw it off his arm. Now come to the pin removal. The first one came out smooth. The second one got stuck. It was like beginning to fuse to whatever was in his arm, his bone. I have no idea. So the nurse is pulling it, and she goes, oh, okay, this one's a little stuck. You might feel a little bit of something. And Vann's face was like, okay, at first, and then he goes to pull it. And this guy had to pull it hard, because it was stuck. My son starts crying, as you'll see in the video. And I cut it right after that because Mommy needed to go by his side. We were expecting it to go smoothly, which is why I was like, I'll record it for our purposes of remembering, because I do make discs for my son and my daughter. I make discs for all my kids on memories. Even though it's not the best memory, it's still going to be, this is the first and hopefully the last time that you'll ever break your arm. So we did that, but you'll see in the video. And yeah, the third one came out good. It just came right out, thank goodness, because that second one killed him. It was horrible. He cried. They wrapped him. He was okay after. He cried on the way home, and that was that. So doctor gave us instructions still not to let him play for another 6 weeks, which right now we're coming at the end of that 6 weeks in December. So he will be able to go back to normal, hopefully. We got one more appointment to make sure. And that's it. That is the story of how my son broke his arm and what he went through. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this little story time. Hope you enjoyed my evergreen candle here. Evergreen trees. It smells so good. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it, like it, and have a good night. Now, if you know Vann, you know how skinny he is. And if you look at these pictures, you can see how swollen his arm is. Memories of the olden time, hopefully.
Oh yeah, good job. It came out already. Put the cast behind you. Yeah, there you go.
We watched a video on this part.
Tickles?
It was very interesting.
I'm gonna have to take these out. It's gonna feel a little funny, but we're gonna do it quick, okay? See, that was really easy. I know, me too. Hold on. Just a little bit.
Okay, baby.
I'm
Okay,
sorry,
okay,
buddy.
okay.